Imagine a chosen people with divine promises spanning centuries, a destiny marked by blessings, wars, exiles, and hopes of restoration. What would become of the 12 tribes of Israel? How did they shape the history of the world and continue to impact our lives to this day? In just a few minutes, you'll discover ancient secrets, prophecies of hope, and a spiritual journey that transcends time. Get ready for a journey that goes beyond history and touches the heart of faith and promise. The origin of the 12 tribes of Israel. The origin of the 12 tribes of Israel is directly linked to God's promise to Abraham that he would be the father of a great nation. This promise was passed on to Isaac and then to Jacob, whose name was changed by God to Israel. Jacob had 12 sons with their wives and concubines: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. These sons became the patriarchs of the tribes that would give rise to the people of Israel. Each tribe maintained its identity over time, forming distinct family clans, but united by the same spiritual and cultural heritage. The history of the tribes begins in the context of slavery in Egypt and develops throughout the liberation, the wandering in the desert and the conquest of Canaan, being the foundation of Israel's national identity. Jacob's prophetic blessings in Genesis 49. Before he died, Jacob gathered his 12 sons together to bless them individually, in a moment full of spiritual and prophetic significance. These blessings, recorded in Genesis 49, were not simple words of farewell, but revelations of the destiny of each tribe and their role in Israel's future history. Some blessings were positive, like that of Judah, to whom Jacob declared that the scepter would not depart from his lineage, anticipating the coming of the kingship and later of the Messiah. Others were more critical, such as Reuben, Simeon, and Levi, who were rebuked for past behavior that would affect the future of their descendants. Jacob's words shaped the character and role of the tribes throughout biblical history, revealing not only human aspects but also God's sovereignty in using each tribe to fulfill his purposes. The role of Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh. Among Jacob's sons, Joseph was given special prominence for his faithfulness to God, even in the midst of adversity in Egypt. As a reward, Jacob gave him a double blessing by adopting his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, as his own. This decision elevated Ephraim and Manasseh to the status of independent tribes, guaranteeing Joseph a double portion in Israel's inheritance, as was customary for the firstborn, a role that spiritually passed to Joseph even though he was not the eldest. Ephraim, in particular, would become a powerful and influential tribe, often representing the northern kingdom after the division of Israel. Manasseh, on the other hand, occupied territories east and west of the Jordan. The role of these 2 tribes demonstrates how Joseph's lineage continued to exert significant influence over Israel's history, even without bearing the name of its patriarch directly. The tribe of Levi and the priesthood. The tribe of Levi was chosen for a unique role among the 12 tribes of Israel, to serve the Lord exclusively as priests and guardians of the cult. Unlike the other tribes, the Levites did not receive their own territorial inheritance in Canaan. Instead, they were distributed among various priestly cities throughout the territory of Israel, with the purpose of teaching the law and maintaining worship throughout the people. The priesthood specifically was reserved for the lineage of Aaron, Moses' brother, also a Levite, and his descendants. The Levites were responsible for functions in the tabernacle and later the temple, including transportation, assembly, and musical and liturgical services. For their exclusive dedication to divine service, the Lord was declared to be the inheritance of the tribe of Levi, a spiritual distinction that profoundly marked Levitical identity throughout biblical history. The formation of the nation of Israel and the Exodus. The transformation of the 12 tribes of Israel from family clans into an organized nation began with the Exodus from Egypt. After about 400 years of slavery, Jacob's descendants had multiplied greatly and were seen as a threat by the Egyptian Pharaoh. God raised up Moses as a leader and deliverer, thus fulfilling the promise made to Abraham that his descendants would be delivered from a foreign land. The journey out of Egypt was marked by signs and miracles, including the 10 plagues and the crossing of the Red Sea. In the desert on Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the law, establishing a covenant with the people and shaping them into a theocratic nation with civil, religious, and moral laws. The pilgrimage through the desert, although marked by rebellion and trials, was the period in which the tribes began to act as a collective body. The conquest of Canaan and the distribution of the lands. After the death of Moses, Joshua took over the leadership of the people of Israel and led the 12 tribes in the conquest of the Promised Land, Canaan. Under divine guidance, Joshua organized military campaigns against the peoples who inhabited the region, such as the Canaanites, Amorites, and Jebusites. The conquest was gradual and required faith, obedience, and unity among the tribes. After important victories, such as the fall of Jericho, the land was conquered in stages. With the occupation established, Joshua oversaw the distribution of the territory among the tribes based on lots, as instructed by God. Each tribe received a territorial inheritance, except for the tribe of Levi, which was scattered among the others as responsible for the priestly service. The Levitical cities and the cities of refuge were designated in this process. The distribution of land consolidated the tribes as geographical units within the nation of Israel, ushering in a new stage of social and religious organization in the history of the Hebrew people. The age of the judges and tribal instability. With the death of Joshua and the absence of a central leadership, Israel entered a period of instability known as the Age of the Judges. During this time, the 12 tribes lived in a decentralized structure, each taking care of its own affairs, which often resulted in a lack of unity and vulnerability in the face of external enemies. This cycle was marked by moments of disobedience to God, followed by oppression by neighboring peoples, repentance by the people, and the emergence of judges, leaders raised up by God to deliver Israel. Some notable judges include Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, and Samson. Although they had temporary and regional authority, the judges were unable to unify the tribes in a lasting way, which contributed to an era characterized by internal conflicts, idolatry, and frequent departure from the covenant with God. This instability demonstrated the need for more permanent leadership, paving the way for the future monarchy. The united monarchy, Saul, David, and Solomon. After a prolonged period of instability and anarchy, the people of Israel, feeling the need for a strong leader to unify the tribes, asked God for a king. The first monarchy was established with Saul, anointed by Samuel the prophet. Saul began his reign with promises of greatness, but his lack of faithfulness to God led to his rejection as king. So David, a young shepherd, was chosen to succeed him, becoming one of Israel's greatest leaders. David unified the tribes, established Jerusalem as the capital, and began a period of military, political, and spiritual prosperity for the kingdom. His son, Solomon, took the throne after his death and continued to expand the empire, being responsible for the construction of the temple in Jerusalem, a symbol of God's presence among his people. Under the leadership of David and Solomon, the tribes experienced a period of stability, centralized government, and great wealth. However, the foundations of the kingdom began to weaken as Solomon distanced himself from God, and the division of the tribes would begin soon after his death. The division of the kingdoms, Israel, north, and Judah, south. After Solomon's death, the kingdom of Israel was divided into two parts due to political and tribal tensions. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, became king of Judah, which corresponded to the southern territory, including Jerusalem, the capital. However, the 10 northern tribes rejected Rehoboam due to his fiscal oppression and sought a new leader, appointing Jeroboam as their king. This event marked the permanent division of the kingdom, the northern kingdom called Israel and the southern kingdom called Judah. Israel, with 10 tribes, maintained a more decentralized political structure, while Judah, with 2 tribes, remained the part most faithful to the Davidic lineage and the Jerusalem temple. The separation had profound political, social, and spiritual consequences for the tribes, with the Kingdom of Israel adopting religious practices that often distanced themselves from the worship of the God of Israel, while Judah tried with difficulty to maintain the tradition of worshiping the one God. This division would generate countless conflicts and alliances, eventually culminating in the fall of both kingdoms. The fate of the 10 lost tribes. After the division of the Kingdom of Israel, the 10 northern tribes faced a series of challenges. In 722 BC, the Kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrians adopted a policy of forced displacement, which led to the dispersion of the northern tribes. The 10 tribes were exiled to different parts of the Assyrian Empire, and over time disappeared from recorded history. These tribes are often referred to as the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Over the centuries, various theories and legends have arisen about the fate of these tribes. Some claim that they integrated into other cultures or were assimilated by other peoples. Others believe that the lost tribes migrated to other regions, such as Asia, Africa, or even the Americas. However, the lack of solid historical evidence about the whereabouts of the 10 tribes maintains the mystery and fuels speculation to this day. The disappearance of the 10 tribes is one of the great unsolved questions in Israel's history, and its search continues to fascinate scholars and believers alike. The prophecies of the restoration of the tribes. Despite the disappearance of the 10 northern tribes, the Bible contains several prophecies that speak of the future restoration of Israel. Prophets such as Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Jeremiah spoke of a time when God would gather the scattered tribes, bringing them back to their promised land. In the book of Ezekiel, for example, there is a powerful prophecy in chapter 37, which describes the vision of the valley of dry bones. In this vision, God makes the dry bones rise again and become a living army, symbolizing the spiritual and physical restoration of the people of Israel. This prophecy is often interpreted as a promise that the lost tribes would be reunited at the end of time. Isaiah, for his part, prophesies that the Messiah will be the key to this restoration, bringing a spiritual rebirth to Israel. He speaks of a new covenant and the return of the children of Israel from various parts of the world. In addition, the prophecies about the restoration of the tribes also involve the spiritual cleansing of Israel, with the people returning to God and living in peace. The restoration of the tribes of Israel is a promise that Jews continue to hope for, and many see it as part of God's plan for Israel's messianic future. The eschatological restoration in the New Testament. In the New Testament, the 12 tribes of Israel continue to play a significant role, especially in the eschatological context, i.e., in the promises of an end time. Jesus and the apostles speak of a future restoration of Israel, where the tribes would come together again as part of the plan of salvation and redemption. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus mentions that he has come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Matthew 15:24, indicating that his initial mission was to seek out and restore the people of Israel, including the scattered tribes. However, at other times, Jesus also talks about a new type of community, which includes not only the Jews, but all peoples, pointing to a universal redemption. In addition, the book of Revelation makes reference to the 12 tribes of Israel, particularly in chapters 7 and 21, where 144,000 people are sealed, representing 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes. This is interpreted as a symbol of the preservation of the faithful remnant of Israel during the end times. The vision of the New Jerusalem in Revelation 21 also includes the names of the 12 tribes on the 12 gates of the city, emphasizing the permanent importance of the tribes of Israel in the divine plan. The New Testament therefore links the 12 tribes to the idea of restoration and the fulfillment of God's promises, especially in the coming of the Messiah and the establishment of an eternal kingdom. Christian eschatology sees the tribes not just as a historical reference, but as part of the great mystery of salvation and renewal at the end of time. So did you enjoy this journey through the history of the 12 tribes of Israel? If this content made sense to you and aroused your curiosity, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And now, take the opportunity to check out the next video that pops up on your screen. There's lots more on this subject and other curiosities you'll love. See you there.